We can take for granted that a business will be here forever, but a whole range of factors can change the direction of a business in a moment. Financial volatility is one major factor. However, keeping across every aspect of your business is one way to manage risk and keep a business relevant. Welcome to Good Business. I'm Kathy Davis, and on this episode of the show, we look at keeping a business alive. Joining me in looking at this fascinating topic is Brian Brown, a marketing expert from Better Business Now. Professor Mari Kavanagh, Professor in Accounting at the University of Southern Queensland, and Justin Eldershaw, Managing Director of Reliance Roof Restoration. Firstly, to you, Brian, what are some of the key strategies that you suggest to ensure that businesses remain profitable and relevant in the marketplace?
Yeah, sure. Very good question. There's actually quite a few. One of the things I'll probably look at is developing uniqueness. What makes you different from someone else? Again, we're in a very competitive environment. We need to stand out from other people. Another thing, we looking at exposure to the market. What are your costs? I'll probably give you a bit of a rundown. Like, years ago, I used to work for an office in the city, and I used to go out and see all my clients. That was a waste of expense, so I got rid of that. So that's the things we look at with our clients is what don't they need, which it's certainly cost savings in that respect. Know your numbers. So anywhere you spend your money, know what it returns on that, know how many inquiries you get, and know what your profit margins are against that as well. Target marketing is a probably good one. Look at where you get your maximum profits from. A good example would be a client of ours was a pest control operator, and they used to do a lot of pest and ant work, which was just home-based stuff, and it might make $200 a job. Where they made the most money was in termite work, where they might make $5,000. So we concentrated on that sort of work, as in target marketing, where you get your most amount of profit. Seek professional help is probably a big point. Get people around you who know what they're doing. I mean, it's always business owners are great at what they do, but not necessarily know everything else around that. And one of the things I always talk to business owners about is keep it simple. I mean, don't get too carried away with the latest technology. Look, it may be great, but a lot of people I see don't know how to use it or not using it properly. I'll give you an example. Something as simple as a pen. Back in the 60s, when the space race was on between the Americans and the Russians, it actually got held up because the program got held up because when you're in space, a pen won't work because of zero gravity. Now, Americans spent over $1 million developing a pump-action pen, which was really great for kids because they spent their days writing on sealants. But obviously, the Russians had the same problem. They solved it by using a pencil. So what I'm trying to say is keep it simple.
Thanks very much, Brian. Justin, in practical terms, have you taken the steps that Brian's just outlined for your own business? And if so, how have they helped you?
Oh, 100%. A couple of things I'll expand on that Brian mentioned was, firstly, knowing your numbers. That's massive. What I've found in business, particularly small to medium-sized business, is you've got to know all your numbers from everything. So, for example, from marketing, you run a marketing campaign, you should know exactly how many people called you, exactly how many of those leads turned into sales, and exactly the profits from that exact campaign. See, a lot of people fly blind, and probably the smartest advice that I was ever given at the start when I first started in business was to become a marketing expert and to know your numbers. And the other thing that Brian mentioned there I'd like to expand on was uniqueness. There's got to be a reason for people to choose you. If you're in a business that's got a lot of competitors out there, which applies to most businesses, why should people choose you? It's too much sameness, and if you can be unique, not just unique, but unique and better, that gives you a massive point of difference and a reason for people to choose you in a side-by-side comparison.
So have a point of difference.
Yeah.
Mari Kavanagh, do business people tend to leave financial difficulties to the last minute before talking to their accountant?
Well, I guess some do. I think the thing about it is that the smart ones will establish a relationship with a good accountant up front and actually use the advice that they get from the accountant to build their business. Others, however, because they get so busy just doing their business, and particularly in the case of small businesses, maybe tradespeople, you know, they're very good at plumbing, but they're not very good at the accounting side and the bookwork side of things. And they're too busy actually getting their business up and running and going that they tend to forget about the money side. And unless you have cash flowing in and you're paying your bills on time and people are paying you on time, you can run into difficulties.
Thanks, Mari. After the break, we'll hear from Mari Kavanagh about the importance of financial management. And we'll also go on location in Brisbane City to see how a communication expert supports a new brand. That's still to come on Good Business. Elizabeth Greats is a communications consultant in her own firm, Marketree. Day to day, she works supporting clients to stay relevant and prosperous in their business. Ashley Jones spoke with Elizabeth and asked what gives business life.
Elizabeth, in your opinion, what gives business life?
Look, the products and the services are unquestionably what gives it its sales and its revenue. The thing that gives it its life, I believe, comes down to vision, really strong leadership and having an absolute passion for what you do, because fundamentally it's people that convert those products and those services into revenue. So when people have the passion, that's when you have a winning combination.
Now, from a marketing perspective, what is it that you would see that a business needs to keep in front of mind to keep themselves relevant in today's market?
Look, the main thing to stay relevant is to be a listening organisation. You have to be able to constantly be listening to what your customers or what your clients are wanting, what they're needing, the challenges and the opportunities that they're facing. So being a listening organisation is crucial. Being fast moving is also key. There's no longer the 2-year R&D processes for most organisations. You have to be quick to market without compromising the quality of what you do. And really then it comes down to making sure that your processes and that your systems are supporting the way that your organisation works. And that includes being multi-platform. So looking at whether or not you need to be online, whether or not you need to be providing remote or virtual services as well as maybe face-to-face ones. So being conscious of going to where your customers are rather than asking them to come to where you are. The key thing with business is, yes, you need to know what your competitors are doing, but at the same time you have to have a really clear sense of who you are and why you exist and what you're there to do, because otherwise you wind up playing your competitors' game, and that's not only no fun, but often it's not the most strategic way to do business.
Now, as marketing consultant for Puckles, a rich history in Victoria, but then to turn around, come up here to Queensland and decide then that it's going to be an opportunity to expand in a different way into this state, it must have been a huge challenge. How did you actually approach the idea of getting Puckles so it would stay alive and well here in Queensland?
The key thing to the success of Puckles was actually knowing their brand quite deeply. Behind the scenes, we talked about it as contemporary nostalgia. So combining the passion that Steve and Mike Player, the brothers behind the brand, have for technology and for innovation, at the same time as the fact that it is fundamentally a traditional bakehouse. It's all about bringing back that home style love. So they really had to know their brand quite clearly. They made sure they invested in setting it a strong foundation from day one. So people that came to the store, and a lot of the feedback we had, people thought that it had 20 stores or 30 stores, even though that was store one. So creating that sense of being a part of an experience rather than just getting by was really important to what they did. And then being willing to connected with the customers from day one, so creating a loyalty program, creating clear customer communication and feedback mechanisms, and really knowing what it was that the customer wanted in order to make sure that they never disappointed.
So if we have a business then that seems to be going stale or is really not seeing itself in any way growing, what would it be that you'd say to an organisation that's in that situation so that they can keep themselves relevant in today's market?
Yeah. One of the challenges with a lot of businesses is that when you get so focused on the day-to-day, and particularly when things get tough, that sometimes you can take your eye off good analysis of the fundamentals of your business. So knowing actually where your good revenue margins are going to be is crucial. So taking the time out to do those sorts of sums is absolutely critical to a business's success. And when you do that, then you have a sense of where to invest extra effort. Again, that idea of having feedback mechanisms, sometimes the best possible ideas you can get will come from the person who might be taking your receptionist calls. It might be coming from a person who's there to clean within the organisation. It could be coming from any person, not just senior management. So having a place that's safe and a culture that actually is willing to accept feedback from a whole range of people can be the difference between succeeding and staying alive in a challenging market and not. The other one again is then being able to listen to your customers, and the big thing with some organisations is that because they don't have big budgets or they've been going through challenges, they will compromise on research, and research doesn't always have to cost a lot of money. So it's being creative, it's being innovative with how you can achieve what you're wanting to achieve irrespective of your budget. Sometimes it's just as simple as picking up a phone and asking a customer that you may not have seen for a year what's happening in their world and why haven't you seen them. That doesn't actually cost anything more than a phone call. So it doesn't always have to take money to make sure you know what's happening in your business.
That was Elizabeth Grates bringing her perspective to the importance of keeping a business alive. We know that the bottom line is dollars and cents. To highlight the importance of cash flow and accounting issues, I have Professor Marie Kavanagh with me. And at the top of the show, Marie, we talked briefly about the fiscal side of a business. Can you give me your view, firstly, on what is at the heart of keeping a business alive in daily trading?
Well, as Elizabeth has just alluded to, knowing your business well and making sure that you deliver a quality product and service is critical. Understanding that if you do that, it's likely that your turnover will be higher as a result of the fact that people want your product or service. Making sure that you stay on top of your cash flow. I think all speakers today have alluded to that as being a very important aspect, such that you can pay your bills on time and that the money that's owed to you comes in a timely fashion. And the other thing is about, it's very important, as Elizabeth just said, to constantly work on that reputation, seek feedback from your clients, because you know normally if you have a happy client, they might tell 5 people. If you have an unhappy client, they might tell 15 or 20. So it's staying on top of all of those issues, but in particular, making sure that you manage your financial capacity.
And how does a person keep across the financials in what is usually a really busy day for a small business operator?
Well, by employing a good accountant, first of all, that's really important. But if you don't have capacity for that, if, say, for example, you're a small business and you run your own business, taking time to set aside to regularly do your accounts, keep on top of your bookwork, or if you're a husband and wife team, a separation of duties. The husband might do the actual operations side of the business, the wife actually does the business side, getting the accounts up to date, chasing accounts, paying, submitting BAS on time, etc. All those things are very critical. And by staying on top of your financials, you have a good sense of your cash flow and your liquidity. If you don't have cash flow, you won't stay afloat.
What are some of the common mistakes that you see businesses doing in operating a business?
Well, not taking time to plan properly, that's a critical thing. I think, you know, planning is really important for any business. Making sure that you have a goal and a strategy and that you stick to it, and that you allocate funds such that you can deliver on your goals as you've planned to do. Often, as I said before, business people get very busy just doing, and they don't take time to sit down and plan and refocus. And sometimes that means they miss out on opportunities that arise because they don't have the funding to actually then take those opportunities. So having a good plan and trying to stick to it is very important.
What, in your view, is the role of the accountant to a small business, and how could a small business better utilise their accountant?
I think accountants really provide a great mentoring role. Recently I helped a small business that had gone to the financial institutions to actually seek advice, and while financial institutions give good advice, you've got to realise that they're there to make money. So they're giving advice from their perspective, not necessarily from the business's perspective. So building a relationship with an accountant who you can go to bounce ideas off and talk to about your business and the direction your business is taking is essential.
The accountant as mentor. Thank you very much, Mari. After the break, we talk to Managing Director of Reliance Roof Restoration, Justin Eldershaw, about how his business has survived. This is good business, and someone who's doing more than keeping his business alive but growing it is Justin Eldershaw, Managing Director of Reliance Roof Restoration. Justin, roof work is in constant demand, but in this competitive industry, what are among the key challenges that you've faced in recent times?
One of the challenges, and it's funny because Marie talked a lot about cash flow in the last segment, and one of the current challenges that we've got is the amount of rain that's around at the moment. So while I know most businesses these days are talking GFC challenges and the like, our biggest one has been a cash flow issue with the amount of rain, because being a roofing company, that prevents us from getting work done and therefore getting paid. And as we've grown significantly after, over the last decade, to the point where now our overheads are quite high. So cash flow has become more and more of an issue. So we've had to implement some strategies to be able to cope with that. A couple of examples would be, we never used to take deposits. But that's something we just have to do now, just to keep the cash moving over those rainy periods. One of the other things is we've had to look for some types of work that we can do in the rainy period. That can keep money rolling in, when perhaps with our previous systems in place that wouldn't have been able to occur.
So these are the methods that you've used to deal with these challenges and keep yourself competitive. How do you describe your business and what sets you apart from your competitors?
If we're talking about points of difference, right from the word go, I set the business up to take the service angle, the customer service angle. I mean, there's really three ways you can go. You can either go cheap price, top quality, or customer service. We chose top quality and customer service, with the real emphasis being on the last one that I just mentioned. And our big thing, the big culture within our business is sincerity and transparency. So we go right out of our way to give people as much information as we can, I should say, and be just completely transparent at every step of the way. And the other big point of difference is, aside from the initial deposit, we actually have a thing in place where clients get to inspect the work with us at the end. And if there's anything they're not happy with, we basically we have a guarantee that says we'll fix it before you pay the rest of the money.
What do you believe are the keys to you being a successful business?
The keys, the best piece of advice that I was ever given, and I actually learned it in a book, to be honest, was to become a marketing expert. And that's what I did right at the start. I set out to become a marketing expert. I've read about 600 books on marketing, sales and business strategies, and just simply applied what I've learned. And that's probably that's probably been what's done it for me.
Brian, you've heard the discussion so far on keeping a business alive. How would you sum up some of the keys for small business?
Look, we've got a common thread through all this is cash flow. I think cash flow is very important. It certainly, you know, you appreciate it's very important. Even if your business has no profit, you can still operate with cash flow. No cash flow, your business dies very quickly. So we also have to have that in place. Again, as Justin mentioned, being unique in your business. Like I always say to people, you have to be unique. You've got to stand out. You've got to be that bright, juicy apple amongst all the oranges, as a way to put it. And again, I keep coming back to get professional help.
Do your clients call on you when they're in crisis, and why do they leave it so late to get help?
Unfortunately, they do. Look, I think when people enter a business, I mean, we have to get a license to drive a car, we have to get a license to have a dog. For a business, anyone can start a business. And I think when we start a business, there's that proudness that we know what we're doing. We might be the best mechanic in the world, but again, we don't know how to market, we don't know how to do our book work, we don't know how to do our sales. So, and I think just when it comes to the very end, when there's no option, that's when they start looking at professional help. And unfortunately, sometimes it's too late then.
I noticed that Justin had said he'd read 600 books on marketing. Would that be fairly unique amongst your clients?
It is unique, yep. It is. But again, Justin, I take my hat off to Justin. Clients like that, the exception. I mean, anyone who goes out and self-educating themselves are going to be above the rest.
Mari, may I have a final word from you on keeping a business alive?
Well, as I've said a few times in the show, stay on top of your cash flow, but more importantly, take time to plan so that you have a plan going forward and you can take advantage of opportunities as they arise. But most importantly, find a good accountant if you can, and see them rather as a mentor than just someone that takes money off you, particularly at tax time. But yeah, I think establishing a relationship with someone that can assist you in the financial management side right from the start is the best thing you can do. And
Justin, a final word from you.
Expanding on what I said before, just become an expert. I mentioned 600 books on marketing. It wasn't 600 just on marketing.
Yeah.
There's other topics as well. Just become an expert in your field. And it's so simple. Instead of watching Big Brother or The Simpsons, grab a book, read it, and apply what you learn. It's just so simple. It's frustrating to me to hear comments like, I've actually shared this advice with quite a lot of people, and they say, oh, I don't like to read. That's ridiculous. That's like an athlete saying, I don't like to train. Like, you know, you just got to do it. I mean, how serious are you about your business? If you're serious, you've got to become an expert and apply what you learn.
Well, that's true. I mean, Mari, you would be doing continuing professional education in your field of accounting. So I suppose reading and going to seminars and conferences is an absolutely vital aspect of keeping on top of the latest trends.
Yeah, it's constant. And the legislation keeps changing and we have to keep up. But it's also enjoyable. It's challenging, but it's enjoyable. Learning new things is never a loss in life. So, yeah, I agree very much with Justin. Nowadays you can read from various mediums. It doesn't have to be a book, just to keep on top of what's going on in the business field. Very important.
Brian, do you have anything to add in terms of continuing professional education and reading and so forth?
Yeah, look, just self-educate yourself. Like Justin mentioned, 600 books, that's fantastic. There's so much information. You can look on the internet, you can buy books, you can buy courses, there's DVDs. There is so much information out there. It's just go out and get it and use it and actually apply it.
Keeping your business flourishing is the ultimate aim, and I hope that our discussion today has given you food for thought. Thanks to our studio guests, Brian Brown, Mari Kavanagh and Justin Eldershaw, and also to Elizabeth Grates on location. Thank you for watching Good Business. Next week, we look at business in the 21st century. Join me, same time next week. And in the meantime, if you'd like to find out more or watch the shows again, go to goodbusinesstv.com.au. I'm Kathy Davis. Enjoy good business.